Yo, guys, Urb'n Barz brings you the best UK reactions to rap, hip hop, and urban music from all around the world. And guys, we are back with our man Jordan B Peterson, the man I call JBP. And guys, tonight he's got something which is going to probably be really close to my own heart. He's dealing here with how to deal with sadness and chaos in your life. And I haven't told you guys, I have been to hell and back and to hell and back again. The last 6.5 years of my life have been an absolute roller coaster, guys. Before 2016, guys, I had what I would say is the happiest life of anyone that I can imagine. And guys, since then, it's been up and down. I've had tragedies and so many incredible things that happened, you know. But what they say, guys, is when these things happen, it makes you stronger. And that's why all these things that go on in this channel, I just say we move on, we move forward. But I tell you one thing, guys, if I could change any of those things that happen in my life with a click of my fingers, I would do it in a heartbeat, guys, because I wouldn't wish what I've gone through on anyone who's living on this earth, guys. And I personally, I probably think you all have had problems in your life and things that have happened that you wish hadn't happened, guys. But I have a generally a positive outlook on life. And I think without those things that have happened in my life, guys, over the last 6, 7 years, I would never have done this. I'd never have been on YouTube. I'd never be doing public speaking. I'd never tell you what is inside my heart, which is inside my mind, etc., etc. So maybe good does come out of bad. But guys, I am so interested to find out from our man JBP what goes on and how to deal with sadness and chaos in your life. Guys, this is going to be an eye-opener for all of us. So yeah, let's get into this.
I've watched many hours of your videos, but I don't think I've ever heard you describe yourself on the Big Five model. Care to tell us how you rank on each trait? Yeah, okay. Well, there's a problem because I know the tests, and so it's hard for me to take them without being, well, because I know the tests, right? So it's hard for me to take them without the ever-present threat of conscious manipulation.
And this is why, guys, I never watch any of the videos or anything before I react to it. Because what our man JBP is saying is he knows the tests. So literally, even subconsciously, he doesn't want to be able to manipulate the answers, the results. So if I've watched this before, if I've watched any of the videos beforehand, then I am subconsciously, I know what's going to happen subconsciously. So I know what he's saying, and this is why 99% of the time, guys, I will not watch any of the things I'm reacting to beforehand, because it's not really a reaction, in my opinion. It's something that you've concocted before and rehashed before and rehearsed before. That's the word I'm thinking of. But yeah, let's listen. I'm going to will that again. Listen to our man JBP.
I've watched many hours of your videos, but I don't think I've ever heard you describe yourself on the Big Five model. Care to tell us how you rank on each trait?
I don't even know what the Big Five model is. This is something I'm going to learn, guys.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's a problem because I know the tests, and so it's hard for me to take them without being, well, because I know the tests, right? So it's hard for me to take them without the ever-present threat of conscious manipulation. I've gone through them with my family, to see if we could get a more accurate judgment. So I can tell you on the Big 10 scale, which is the understand myself personality scale,
10 scale.
Pretty enthusiastic. I think it's 75th, 80th percentile, something like that. 99th percentile for assertiveness. So I'm pretty extroverted because those two together make extroversion. And then with neuroticism, that's a hard one because I've had this problem with chronic depression that looks like it's autoimmune related.
Oh, I did not know that my man had suffered from chronic depression. But he said it's related to some sorts of autoimmune illnesses. And I have to admit, guys, I've never told anyone this before, but I live with constant depression in my life. But this is why I'm so happy most of the time you see me. I've learned how I've got coping mechanisms. I've got mechanisms that I deal with that get me through the day, etc., etc. I know when things are, getting on top of you, like some certain things. Like I've boxed all my life, so training is a really important part of my life. But the last 8 months or so, I think I said it on the video beforehand, I had a side strain. So literally since October last year, I went back to the gym in March, and then my gym shut down. So literally, I'll be rushing around trying to find a gym to use, because that's another thing I know, that if I don't train, and when I train, I give 100. Whatever I do, people, I give 100%. I hope you realize that. Whatever I do, I give 1,000%. Well, I can't say 1,000% because that doesn't exist, but 100%. But one of the coping mechanisms I do is training, and when I train extremely hard, because it just drives me to, and it helps my mind. But guys, yeah, I mean, I'd say to you, before 6, 7 years ago, I had a very, very happy. I'm a generally happy person. I hope it comes across in the videos that I do, etc. But I'm generally a person who wants to know what's really going on. So I am very clued up, people. Trust me on that. I may not show in the videos, but I am a very clued up person. I know a lot more than I ever let on, put it that way. But it's interesting to see, because I would never have thought that my man JBP suffered from things like chronic depression. Wow. I did not know that, guys. I did not know that.
So I'm pretty extroverted because those two together make extroversion. And then with neuroticism, that's a hard one because I've had this problem with chronic depression that looks like it's autoimmune related. And so I've felt a lot more negative emotion
Mm,
than the typical person does, I would say, by a
mm.
substantial margin.
Well,
Withdrawal, well, I don't seem to shy away from things. So, apart from the fact that I do feel anticipatory anxiety, which I think is secondary to this depression, let's
mm.
say, I don't seem to shy away from things. So I don't think that temperamentally I'm particularly high in withdrawal. I am more, it's not irritable. What's the next one? Volatile. I'm higher in volatility than.
But it's funny when our man JBP talks about the anxiety. So in a lot of my work, etc., I'm upfront, foremost, in person with all the big wigs, etc., etc. And literally, as I said, coping mechanisms. So literally, what you hear with a lot of these MCs, a lot of the singers, a lot of these blah blah blahs, they have like alter egos and personalities as well. I don't necessarily have an alter ego, but I'm able to. That's the person, NF. I'm able, and I have been for a very long time, I'm able to compartmentalize what is going on in my life to actually be able to do what I need to do. Like I've had tragic news in the midst of doing something, really important at work, etc., etc. And I've been able to compartmentalize to be able to sort of work out what needs to be done, where, why, by who, and how, and by when, etc., before taking myself off to whatever. So I'm critical thinking, able to think critically what to do, even though my whole world was crumbling inside. But the anxiety thing is all about getting it right, doing it right, and doing it right first time. So literally, even like when these cameras roll, from the moment the cameras roll, boom, I switch on. I have no idea how I do it. I have no idea, because in my own personal private life, I'm not like that. I'm extremely forgetful. I'm very blah blah blah. But as soon as the cameras roll, it's like, actors say, like the show must go on, they perform. So I understand when you see artists, understand when you see actors and they're acting and they probably give their best performance. But as soon as the camera starts rolling or the curtains close, the actors falls apart. Like potentially they may have a problem with alcohol, or they have issues, serious issues. Like some of them can barely move. Like that's it, wrestlers. Some of these guys can barely walk. But the moment the ring bell sounds, for that next half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, these guys are gliding across the ring like they are the most supple individuals in the entire world. But as soon as the bell rings and the match is over, these guys are hobbling. They can barely move. It is a weird thing. It's a weird thing that goes on in our brains and our minds that controls and drives our bodies, guys. It's weird. But this is why, for instance, it's almost impossible to actually say, that person needs help, that person's depressed, that person has issues, that person whatever, because you'll never know unless that person tells you. You'll never know, because a lot of these people, you'll find out when it's too late, and you'll say, I never ever thought that person was in a bad way. It's incredible, guys. Life is incredible. And this is why I keep telling people we have one life to live. One life to live. Go out, enjoy yourself, breathe the fresh air, go out, meet people. We have one life to live. And this is why I say this. People, I do not say anything for no reason. People think, oh yeah, you probably just say it. It's just a mantra. It's not a mantra, guys. It's how I live my life. All these things that have happened, they've helped to shape me to actually view this world in a different way. Before 2016, guys, I was happy as Larry. I'm not going to say I was oblivious, because I was not ever oblivious to what was going on, guys. But before 2016, I'm telling you, oh my goodness, it was totally different. But when tragedy hits you, when you tend to look at your life differently, and you realize that life is finite, the clock is ticking. If you need to get something done, before I was like, oh yeah, plenty of time. But guys, the sands of time run quickly. They run quickly. Guys, I'm going to wheel this again, because I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, and we should be listening to
like
JBP.
that. 99th percentile for assertiveness. So I'm pretty extroverted, because those two together make extroversion. And then with neuroticism, that's a hard one, because I've had this problem with chronic depression that looks like it's autoimmune related. And so I've felt a lot more negative emotion than the typical person does, I would say, by a substantial margin. Withdrawal, well, I don't seem to shy away from things. So, apart from the fact that I do feel anticipatory anxiety, which I think is secondary to this depression, let's say, I don't seem to shy away from things. So I don't think that temperamentally I'm particularly high in withdrawal. I am more, it's not irritable. What's the next
Volatile,
one? Volatile. I'm higher in volatility than withdrawal by a substantial margin. I can be quite irritable, but again, it's hard to dissociate that from the depression. So anyways, my levels of negative emotion are higher than I would prefer. Agreeableness, I'm pretty compassionate, pretty high in compassion. It's like 75, 80th percentile. So, but I'm relatively low in politeness.
Oh,
So I think, but not.
that's weird, because anyone who ever meets me will tell you that, yeah, I'm such a polite person. And, I speak to people, like, say, for instance, when I go out, I speak to all the people, the workers, etc. And even at my work, etc., speak to all the workers. I have an affinity with people, and people are human beings, and I know that. Just so, yeah, yeah. I I tend to try and do good things to people. Unless someone does something bad to you, then why ruin someone else's day? Like, if you go into a shop, and you've got a shop person there, they're doing their job, and you just throw your money across at them, or you're rude to them for no reason. I don't understand that. Why be rude? Unless you have a reason to be rude, why be rude? No, life is to get all of the good things out of life. You speak to people, you learn things from people. Every single person you meet is a new opportunity to learn something. I've gathered that from a long time ago. You can learn something from every single person you meet. Doesn't always mean it's a positive thing you learn, but you can learn something from everyone you meet.
Agreeableness, I'm pretty compassionate, pretty high in compassion. It's like 75, 80th percentile. So, you know, but I'm relatively low in politeness. So I think, but not
Disagreeable.
5th percentile, something like 30th percentile, 40th percentile, if I remember correctly. So that means that it means that I'm blunt enough to hurt people's feelings now and then, and that I really don't like that, because the compassion thing gets me. So conscientiousness, I'm moderately orderly, 70, 75th percentile, and like 99th percentile for industriousness. And then openness, both of them, intellect, and 99th percentile for intellect, and then It's like 95th, something like that, for openness or higher. So that's where I rank. So
So when he says openness, if he means to share knowledge and be yourself with people, I think I'm very open. If I know something, I'll share it with people. What's the point of absolutely keeping things to yourself? I don't understand that.
my wife and I found out earlier in the year and we may not be able to have children. Then last month I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh goodness.
Man, how do I
That's a
combat depression?
double whammy.
Well, the first thing that we should point out
That's
here,
a
I'm very
double whammy because the way we are people, the way we are born into this world is we're here, and when we say like to procreate, it's for our genes to keep going. So literally, that's our one hold on immortality, is to reproduce. Maybe not procreate, but reproduce. So this is a double whammy here because this person has got cancer, so now their life, which is finite anyway, has been is that the word contract? Anyway, but they now have a shortened lifespan. But if they have no children at all, then potentially the lineage will not carry on. So that's a double whammy, guys. And I watch a lot of nature programs. I was watching a nature program last night as well, and it was incredible. It's all about the beautiful Serengeti. I think it's on is it PBS channel? If you get a chance to watch that series, guys, watch the beautiful Serengeti. It's all about animals. I watch animals, wildlife, all those things all the time, guys. You can learn so much from animals. But yeah, that's a double whammy.
My wife and I found out earlier in the year and we may not be able to have children. Then last month I was diagnosed with cancer.
It's incredible.
Man, how do I combat depression? Well, the first thing that we should point out here, I'm very sorry to hear about all that. That's a lot of tragedy in a very short period of time, man.
It's a double whammy.
And I'm not going to give you any casual advice because,
absolutely.
But maybe I can make some things clearer. The first is you're not depressed. You've had terrible things happen to you. That's not the same thing, right? I distinguish between them. If a client comes to me and they say they're feeling very sad and down and anxious and worried about everything and so forth, then I kind of walk through their life. Do they have friends? Do they have a family? Do they have a meaningful job? Is their educational background appropriate for their level of intelligence and ability? Are they taking care of themselves? Do they have something to look forward to? Do they use their time outside of work productively and wisely, etc.? So you think about those as the dimensions of a good life. There's more, or maybe there's fewer, but that's not too bad for a quick and dirty first.
Do they feel satisfied? Is their life complete? Is it
pass
full?
through, let's say. Those are the dimensions, by the way, that you work on. If you do the future authoring program in the self-authoring suite, you're asked to think about all those dimensions and consider what your life might be like if you optimized along all of them. And so if all of those things are going well for you and you feel terrible all the time, then you're depressed. Because there's something wrong with your emotional regulation.
Absolutely. So if your life is going well, and that happens a lot, and that's where people don't understand and don't get it. Like I said, I've had tragedies and all that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it's more than that, it triggers things. But I get it, because why do people who on the surface of things, their life looks blessed, why do they, sadly sometimes end their lives? Why are some of them sometimes, almost destroy their perfect life? That's what our man JBB is saying. There's underlying issues that just aren't right. It's, something's out of kilter.
So, I mean, maybe you're having an existential crisis. That's a possibility. But, I mean, let's assume we can't see anything structurally wrong with your life, but you're feeling terrible. Then I would say, well, you have depression. There's something wrong. Maybe it's physiological. And people like that, in my experience, those are the people who often really benefit from antidepressants. But then there's the other sort of person who is in trouble. Their educational attainment is not what it should be. They don't have a job. They have an alcohol or drug problem. They have a
Tendencies.
family that's really not functioning well, or they don't have a family. Their immediate relationship, intimate relationship, is non-existent or terrible. Their friends are non-existent or worthless and destructive. They don't get along with their relatives. They're in poor mental and physical health. You get the picture. And they're not feeling good. Their mood's low and they're anxious. That's not depression, like it might be, but it's but what that is a terrible life. And those are different things. They need to be conceptualized differently. Now, even if you have a terrible life, an antidepressant might be able to lift you up enough so that you can keep fighting, let's say, assuming that that's what you're doing. But an antidepressant obviously isn't going to help, isn't going to remove the facts of your terrible life. Now, you've got terrible things happening to you at the moment, and there's no simple answer to that. I would say you could take a look at chapter 12 in my book, 12 Rules for Life. It's called Pet a Cat When You Encounter One on the Street, and in part it's an autobiographical chapter about how my wife and I and my family, my son and daughter, and my extended family as well, dealt with my daughter's extremely serious illness. Well, it still plagues her to some degree, although not nearly as much as it did. She was very seriously ill when she was a teenager. And it was an ongoing crisis, continual for years of crisis. And so the question is, how do you cope with that? And the first answer is you shrink your time frame. You've had these, especially with regards to your diagnosis. It's like all of a sudden your future has been thrown completely into chaos. And you don't know how to deal with that, and who would. You do what you can to stabilize your medical treatment and to optimize your quality of life while that's happening. A very complicated thing to do. And then I would say you live for the day, for the week maybe. Maybe a week's too much even, but for the day. It's like you get up in the morning, you think, I need to do everything I can to make this day as
small milestones,
meaningful and rich as I possibly can. And hopefully I will have had a full day by this evening, and then I'll be able to sleep. And then I'll be able to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to try to make this day as useful and meaningful and engaging as it can be. And then maybe when you're really sick, you don't have a day, you have hours. And then you do the same thing for the hours, and then maybe you do the same thing with the minutes. I would also say, you've been through a lot of shock, and it's conceivable that you might need to talk to someone. It's also conceivable that an antidepressant could help you. You've got a lot to deal with, and your nervous system might need some stabilization with all that stress. And so that's something to consider. Antidepressants are also quite effective as pain medications, especially a drug called Cymbalta. So that's also worth knowing, because you need to know about effective pain medication. It's very important. In extreme situations of pain, opiates, of course, are the drug of choice, but you can use drugs like methylphenidate, the Ritalin, the ADHD drug. You can use them as adjuncts to pain medication, and people need to know that, because they're basically amphetamines. Amphetamines have analgesic properties, but they also they also maintain alertness. And so the problem with opiates is they can be sedating, but an opiate amphetamine combination, and this is for people who are in absolutely intractable pain, by the way, that can increase alertness and help cope with pain. And it's really useful to know what you might need to cope with pain. So I would say shrink your time horizon, and then oh, thank you. Okay, thanks, Tam. Shrink your time horizon and then concentrate on the concentrate on the moment, whatever that moment happens to be. It might be the next minute. I don't know what else to do when you're in an extreme situation. The other thing, I guess the final thing I would say with regards to we may not be able to have children. Well, you need a plan to address that to the best that you can, to the best way that you can. And then you have to give yourself some time to reconceptualize your life and your future. And I would say news like we may not be able to have children, that probably takes about a year or a year and a half to digest. So don't be too hard on yourself if you haven't figured it out yet. It's any major life transformation, like a really major life transformation, I would say takes a minimum of a year to really adapt to.
You may not have the time. It's finished. So that was Jordan B. Peterson, Uncensored. And that was how to deal with sadness and chaos in your life. Guys, I hope there were some good life lessons for you. I absolutely chipped in with a few bits from my own life. Hopefully that wasn't too arduous, etc., etc. Yeah, we all have some sort of coping mechanisms, or we need to find some coping mechanisms to make our lives better, make our lives more manageable, make our lives more purposeful. So just set yourself small targets sometimes. And as Jordan was saying, even just small goals, so you put them down to the minute level there, like your daily goals, move them out to weekly goals, monthly goals, etc., etc. Just from my own perspective, I'm always looking at moving forward. I don't want to have inertia in my life. I need to move forward. So any obstacles that are in the way, if I can't go through them, get over them, or go around them, I have to think of another way. So maybe I may have to backpedal a bit and, try again from a different angle. But, it's that aspect of just moving forward. So whatever happens, move forward. Yes, we'll get some knockbacks on the way. You take them on the chin. You take it on the chin, guys. And then we regroup, we rethink, and reapproach that obstacle from another perspective, from another angle. But we never, ever accept defeat, guys. We just keep moving forward. And at the end of the day, we may not get it straight away, but at some point we'll go back to that obstacle and we will surmount that obstacle. We'll surmount it. But guys, that was an interesting topic there, how to deal with sadness and chaos in your life. And to be fair, I think most people do have sadness and chaos in their lives. But from my own perspective, from my own point, I have to admit that pre-2016, I thought I really had a happy life, guys. Really, there was no real problems or issues. 100%. I was very, very happy, but things do happen in people's lives at different stages. And, in some cases they're tests, some cases they're tribulations, guys. And it's only once you absolutely can focus on that and actually see what it is for what it is, that you can start to regroup and then to reapproach what's happening, and then to hopefully surmount whatever is going on in your life, and to be able to cope. But it's getting those coping mechanisms and to actually really and truly, and I think as JBP said, he said it takes a year and a half sometimes to actually figure out what's going on, and it's true, it takes time, but really try to focus and figure out what's going on in your life. And then once you can do that, then you're a few steps along the journey, along the path to surmounting what's going on in your life. But I just keep saying, guys, I just keep moving forward. The moment I don't move forward, the moment I sit down and accept it and sit back, then that is probably where the knock will be felt a lot greater. I'll feel it a lot greater. But if I keep moving forward, just keep moving forward, then it helps to drive you onto other aspects. And but it's a hard one, guys, and it's something that I'm not going to say is going to be one size fits all. But all these things that happen for a reason. This is why I say all these things with YT, all these things that are going on behind the scenes, etc., You know, it's not going to break me. I've had so much worse, guys. I just laugh at these things, whatever. And the more they try their little things, the more I just push back. That's what I say. But guys, here at Urb'n Barz, we like to give you the best of all worlds. And this is why we go from all around the world, from every nook and cranny, guys. And hopefully you like what you hear, you like what you see, and hopefully, guys, if you like it as much as I hope you do, you'll subscribe to my channel here at Urb'n Barz. Put your comments down here in the comment section, guys, and please like and share, but make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction. There's more JPP on the way, and there's more from where that came from. And there's more great music and reactions as well, guys. Remember as well, I brought back the funnies. The funnies have come, oh, excuse me, just knocking the place together. The funnies are coming back, guys. I like to have fun in my life. I love to have a smile on my face. Trust me on that. I love to smile. More than anything on this earth, I love to smile. I love to be happy. So, guys, we're bringing back the funnies. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction.